Let's talk this morning with Clark Hodges, financial strategist, back on the show. Clark, good morning.
Good morning. Good to be back on.
Yeah, great to have you here. We're not going to throw all college students under the bus because it's not easy to be a college student these days with the big money tuition and prices rising. It's crazy compared to a generation ago. But sometimes, they're using the coinage and maybe not the smartest way to be spending the loan money.
Right. I think you can't expect kids to get kind of a big lump sum of money put into their account and not be tempted to spend it on something other than what it's meant for. I think that's human nature. I would have had a hard time when I was that age to be able to be disciplined enough. It's good for them to understand that this loan will come due someday. The problem is that day is 4 or 5 years in the future for them, and so they really don't think about it. But, they're spending this money on partying, with beer, with vacation, spring break, iPhones, you name it. And I think that, like I said earlier, it's not too surprising. What surprises me more than anything is the system is set up to allow this money to be freely put into their accounts and not go directly to the university that it's meant for.
Yeah, and in some systems it is, and in some it's not, and that's just part of the variety and vagaries of the various colleges and universities out there, isn't it?
Right, I think it is. I think most of them maybe are set up to where the money goes to the university directly for maybe the school hours, but I think housing and books are different matters, and those books have to be purchased by the student, and they probably put the money for the books into the student's account, and that could easily, a semester, be a couple $1,000s that's sitting there in their account. And if you're like me, when I was in college, the books that you bought, you always resold at the end of the semester back to the bookstore, and they gave you cash. Well, we got to the point where we would go in, buy the books, day one, tell your dad, hey, Dad, I got this book expense, and then the next day go back and sell them back to the bookstore and keep the money.
That's a racket. So you had a racket going, Clark.
I had a racket going.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for the gas card. I could, I mean, everybody's got the racket they try to figure out, and I think it's a system that no matter what, you're going to have some sort of abuse of it. But to me, you're either born a spender or born a saver, and as a parent, you need to instill in your children the responsibility and the viewpoints of money.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the more things change, the more some things, like you just said, spender, saver, they stay the same. I remember being in school and had a classmate who, he said, hey, come with me into the city. I'm going to go see my grandma. It was like early in the term in September, and we went in the house, and she wrote him a check. She goes, this is for your year. This will help take care. She wrote him a check for $2,000. Well, I'll tell you how old I am. $2,000. I said, hey, dude, you're pretty much set. You're going to be able to live. You pay your expenses and do everything right through the school year. You're golden. And he goes, no, man, I'm going to have some fun. Come on. And I said, you wouldn't believe how quick he spent the two. No, before the month was gone, the money was gone. And that to me was a lot of money, $2,000. I said, buddy, that is so much money. How did you do it? Check the closet. No, he went and bought some clothes, had some parties, took some.
Yeah.
Look, you can spend it quick, but the thing is, where's it? Right. Where's the rest coming from? And the story is the same now. How are you going to fill the gap? It ain't there. You're going to have to take out a loan, and it'll come due at some point.
Right. Well, do yourself a favor. If you're going to do this, by all means, put some of it in an investment account for yourself. At least $50 a month go to an investment account, so that you may be spending the rest on frivolous things, but you may have some money saved up and built up for you at the end of that 4 or 5 years that you're actually, wow, I'm so glad I did that. Now I've got some money to help pay back this thing. So be wise with some of it, even if it's not going directly to the bookstore.
Yeah, no kidding. But, I think very few will do that. I just,
Yeah, very few will.
No, it's maybe
very few will.
Get a handful. They'll be they'll be ahead of the game, and they look at it, and then they see that some of these loans are subsidized. I mean, they're not. They're so low interest. It almost seems. Look, and I'm going to get down to it, Clark. It seems like free money. It
does.
When you look at the subsidized low interest and then all the ways, and they can be deferred later. Sometimes they can be discharged depending on what you do in service to your country. But by and large, if you ever get in financial trouble, here's one thing you can tell people about these loans is that if you get in trouble and you got to declare bad, whatever, the people still lining up will be this loan. You cannot get rid of this thing. You can't make it go away.
Right. And here's a strategy that a lot of young people probably employed but didn't work was take the money, spend it, and then go vote for Bernie Sanders.
Well,
that loan will go away.
Yeah, it'll go. It'll be forgiven. Well, it's just not. It's not happening. So that's a hard. But there again, that's a life lesson to learn. Maybe you can learn it by reading about it, or you can learn it by living it. Some people are going to learn it by living it. But I don't want to throw students under the bus because guess what? College has increased the price to the point of. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah. And this isn't. That's not on their head. That's not on them.
No, that's on the universities and the government who allow everyone to get a loan. If you can get a loan, colleges are saying, hey, everyone can afford college because they can go get a loan. So we're going to raise our tuitions. We're going to build these big buildings. We're going to pay professors a lot of money. And they're part of the problem, and so is the government.
I don't even know if it's the professor. I mean, I just know that the overhead of staff and, as you said, buildings, all these things get rolled in. And it seems like, and everyone has to keep up with the Joneses. And to the point that it just starts to become, anybody can look it up. You can look at versus the rate of inflation and other prices, the price index over the last 30 years, see where higher ed has gone compared to, and is it worth something? Yeah, it's still worth something. But boy, oh boy, be smart when you're doing the loan.
Skyrocketing.
Yeah, skyrocket big time. Clark Hodges, financial strategist. As always, Clark, give us the website and the hit for people to go and visit.
HodgesCapital.com.
HodgesCapital.com, the place to be.
Thank you.
Yep, take care. Have a great one.